Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Earn YouTube channel for our Champions League final predictions and preview video, the last one of this season. The season finale is here, it's coming up, and what an occasion for at Wembley, one of the best stadiums in world football to do it as well. Very, very exciting. You've got the perennial winners in Real Madrid coming up against the underdogs in Borussia Dortmund, and we can't rule out Dortmund because we've seen in the Conference League and in the UEFA Europa League, both the underdog sides so far have won these finals out of these UEFA competitions. So don't rule out Dortmund just yet, and they've got some added excitement with the and the willingness to win with Marco Reus's announcement his retirement as well. So what's panning out to be a very, very exciting game. Dortmund continually proving us wrong throughout these knockout stages. Real Madrid doing as we expect, but getting through the big boys at the Bayern Munichs and the Man City along their way here as well. Just a bit of history about the two sides before we get into this game itself. Dortmund have obviously won the one Champions League title with their famous win over Juventus at the Olympic Stadion. They only made 2 appearances, their last one being in 2013 at the same venue, losing 2-1 that day to Bayern Munich with Jurgen Klopp in charge of that side there. Talking about Real Madrid, they've got the 14 Champions League titles, appearing in the 17 finals. Their last appearance was in 2022, where they got that 1-0 win over Liverpool. So different, contrasting histories of the two sides. I guess a contrast in who we think is the favourites, but a final, that's the best thing about football in a final. It is a one-off occasion where whoever shows up will get the grand prize. And as I said, what a place to play as well at Wembley. Out of all the places in world football, probably one of the best places you want to be for a final of any cup competition. Let's look at Dortmund first, coming to this final. They make it on the back of an offensive masterclass and a well-controlled game versus PSG across 2 legs. They won both legs 1-0, winning, going through 2-0 in aggregate. A Hummels and Schlotterbeck masterclass. Hummels almost player of the knockout of the semi-final knockout games. He was fantastic across both legs and is probably the best player across all 4 games that took place in the semi-finals. Fantastic defensive resilience, popping up at a very important time. For a very important moment as a goal at the PSG stadium. Being fantastic, playing younger than his years, very experienced though in terms of his decision making, but looking active, looking physical, not letting the likes of Kylian Mbappe, the Barcolas, the Ousmane Dembélés, Gonzalo Ramoses, this young, energetic PSG backline to get in behind him. He was fantastic. And Nico Schlotterbeck as well was just superb. The combination, a bit of vintage there with Hummels and the youthful up-and-coming centre-half there, and Nico Schlotterbeck complement each other very well, and didn't have to make those ridiculous last-ditch tackles because they were organised so well from minute 1 to minute 90. They were just fantastic consistency through these 2 games here. And I think that's the strength which Borussia Dortmund will look towards once again. Looking through the whole history of the season, the Champions League, they topped the group of death with 11 points, beating out the likes of PSG, Newcastle, and AC Milan. They beat PSV 3-1 aggregate in the round of 16, controlling that game quite well across the 2 legs. Atletico in a goal fest 5-4 on aggregate, and then obviously the 2-0 win over PSG on aggregate as well in the semi-final there. The side's most recent result was a 4-0 win over Darmstadt in the final day of the Bundesliga. Marco Reus getting on the score sheet and also announcing his retirement. So that's a bit of added bonus for the team here to try and go out and win it for one of the great players of all time, Marco Reus, and a player that's just been done harshly through injuries, through poor results, and finals not going his way. So what a way to send off Marco Reus, and it'd be just fitting if he could lift a Champions League trophy. I think all the neutral fans are willing to see that here at Wembley in the final game. Looking at their season as a whole, they started the season okay, but a bit rocky, not as solid as they were last season. The season started all based around attacking football, the likes of Malin popping up for important goals. Karim Adeyemi starting a lot of games, now very dynamic in the final third, and goals with their mindset. But you come towards a January transfer window and look from then onwards. Yes, they've continued to score a lot of goals, but the defence has become more solid. It looks like Nicolas Schlotterbeck, Mats Hummels. I think in midfield, Emre Can, an underrated, underappreciated player in this side. He holds it all together. He's that cog for the Borussia Dortmund side, and the captain also. Ian Maatsen at fullback's been fantastic pick up in January. Not only going forward, but defensively as well. It's a really great cover. Adds a bit more pace and consistency to this back line. And Reerson as well has been a fantastic player from the wing-back position as well. So they've set up a very solid back four. Kobel in net is a brick wall at times, very hard to pass. And it's been that sort of defensive building block, which they've found success in the second half of the season. Less so in the league, a bit up and down, but it's sort of been a summary of their whole season. But when it comes to Champions League football, and that anthem starts playing, it's a different Borussia Dortmund. They're a real hard team to beat. To break them down takes a lot of effort. And it seems like they find the right moments to go and score goals. I think a Fulkrug's goal versus PSG came out of nothing. The ability to bounce back versus Atletico Madrid. It looked like Atletico Madrid had all the confidence, all the momentum in that second leg there, and then score some quick-fire goals to get Dortmund back in front in the two-legged affair. It's these moments up top, the midfield and the attackers are seizing upon them, and defensively they're just so hard to crack. Being a really difficult side to come up against. You've got different sort of styles of football, a young, exuberant PSG, which like to attack with high pace, with chucking numbers forward. You've got an Atletico team that's more pragmatic in possession, but are so dangerous up top and really took it to Dortmund in terms of their attacking style of football. You've got a PSV team that, again, exuberant on the front foot, want to play a lot in possession, want to show what they've got, but they compromise and play a little bit more defensively versus Dortmund. So they've played against all these different styles of football and beaten them in so many different ways. And they come to this final against the juggernauts, knowing they've won in so many different ways and they can win in so many different ways. And that's got to give you confidence. The way all 11 players who started most of these games, those off the bench who impacted games of football, that's got to be a confidence booster for the side coming into this ginormous game, probably the biggest game of their lives in many regards for these players here. Their Champions League run has seen many superstars, as I've said. Started with Nicholas Fulkrug, 3 goals and 3 assists in his 11 starts. That massive goal versus PSG that came out of nothing to really set them in the right direction. Their pivotal goal at that point in time. Again, you see it in the Bundesliga as well. Real clinical finisher. Get him any half chance, he'll put it in the back of the net. And I feel like he'll be big for this game coming up as well. Next player, Marcel Sabitzer, a personal favourite of mine. 1 goal, 5 assists in his 10 starts. Averages a 7.09 match rating on SofaScore. Someone's really energised in that midfield. They can get up and down. Fantastic in terms of breaking up the play and progressing that side going forward. You've got Jadon Sanchez. It's coming, has been fantastic. Averages a 4.2 successful dribbles per game. He's got a goal also in his Champions League run so far. You look at Kobel and net, 11 games, 6 clean sheets, 3.8 saves per game, and has prevented over 6 goals over his 11 appearances, which is fantastic. That's the brick wall that's been the foundation. That back three there, then you've got Schlotterbeck, 5 clean sheets in his 11 games, the 2.3 tackles, the 5.6 ball recoveries, the 2.6 clearances, and then the big man himself, Mats Hummels, 6 clean sheets in his 12 games, 6.4 ball recoveries, 2.1 interceptions, and the 4 tackles per game. It's that trio at the back, Schlotterbeck, Hummels, and you've also got Kobel in it. These are the guys that got the grunt work in the knockout stage in the Champions League. They've been the ones holding this side together. They got them through the group of death. They've been fantastic in big games in the Bundesliga, fantastic in that semi-final two-legged affair versus PSG. Turn up in big moments versus PSV as well in the round of 16. These are the players that have been foundational to the Champions League great run that Borussia Dortmund have made. Looking in terms of this final, in this game here, it's going to be very, very interesting because you're going to play a lot on the back foot. You're going to see Real Madrid own big moments. They've got the players that have been there and done that and exude that confidence in these final situations. They've been here so many times before. We've got 5-time Champions League winners going against this younger side, or this side's less experienced in the big occasions. So first, you looked at Jadon Sancho. I don't know how the game's going to turn out into the possession. Dortmund might have a bit more possession, but when momentum is in Real Madrid's favour, you know how they can get in control of games and have 70 to 80% possession across a 10 to 15 minute period in time. A player like Jadon Sancho who can dribble really well, who can hold the ball up and can just zap that momentum out the game, and what Real Madrid might have going is going to be massive. He'll be a great outball, someone that can skip past some of the Real Madrid defenders with his trickery, and someone that can win a game off his own boot. Finally, you need those sort of X-Factor type players, and Jadon Sancho, if he turns up, can provide that for Borussia Dortmund. Since coming across, has been fundamental to their system, provides them a bit more quality in the final third, less just pace and directness. He's got that real skill on the ball, can still run in behind and be a pacey option, but someone who can drop in short, connect the game up, link with the midfield, and just allow Dortmund a bit of possession in times where they're under threat. So he, for me, will be so pivotal. The second player is going to be the draw-it-down back, Nico Schlotterbeck and Mats Hummels. I've talked about them endlessly. We did a reaction video of them after the PSG game. Talked about them here in this video. They are the building block of this side here. If Real Madrid go and be on the front forward and put pressure on Borussia Dortmund, it's going to be those two. They're going to have to hold up. They're going to hold up really, really strong. It's going to be resilient. deal with the likes of Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, maybe even Hosselu for what it's worth. These guys getting behind, such dangerous players, dynamic players, clinical players in the final third. It's going to be these two who's going to have to hold up. We saw they did to PSG, made it uncomfortable for Mbappe, forced these younger players like Barcola to be difference makers, and it really showed. And, you force the ball away from the superstars, in this case like Vinicius Jr., you force the likes of maybe a Hosselu coming off the bench or midfielders to make the difference. That's the positive. That's a positive for Borussia Dortmund. And I think the way they work in combination with Schlotterbeck's increased pace and Mats Hummels' smarts, they'll work really well together. And if they're going to win this game or scrap out or make it go late, it's going to be in the back of really fundamental, foundational, route one top defending, where it's get rid of the ball, get it out, get the area clear, force Real Madrid as far back as possible, sitting in a low block to deny them space in behind when you can. But then when you get that ball, when you win that ball back, hoof it up the pitch, get your line up and get Real Madrid pushing from defensive areas. If you're playing around with it at the back too much, you're allowing Real Madrid the opportunity to create havoc, create chances. If you play with the high line, you know what the likes of Vinicius and Rodrigo can do. So they'll be very important in terms of controlling the whole confidence of the team. These guys are the cogs who get this team turning. Speaking about cogs, it's Marcel Sabitzer as well. Foundational in that midfield there. The cog in midfield gets him firing. He's just a bit of an energizer, but he gets up and down, can be important in the transitional play, winning that ball back and driving into dangerous areas, can get into the edge of the area and can have a good shot into find the back of the net. He's so important for his midfield. Again, Emre Can is that hard work, the brute in midfield. Sabitzer can do that work, but he can go forward as well. And when you've got the likes of Toni Kroos, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Jude Bellingham to deal with, a like of a Marcel Sabitzer who can go both ways, it will be very, very important, because you can't just be defending for 90 minutes. You have to go and put pressure on the Real Madrid team and on the midfielders and defenders that you defend. And Marcel Sabitzer can provide that alongside Julian Brandt, pushing forward, keeping the Real Madrid players accountable. I think Sabitzer's a big game type player. He can do a lot with not much of it, if you know what I mean. He can create something out of nothing. So I think he'll be really, really important, that midfield there. Could be a difference maker in terms of his ability to win the ball and carry the ball midfield there for Borussia Dortmund there. Coming to Real Madrid, they make it through to the final off a crazy 4-3 two-legged affair of Bayern. They topped their group being unbeaten. They beat Leipzig 2 on aggregate thanks to Brahim Diaz's masterstroke. They then beat Man City in the quarterfinals 4-4, winning 4-3 on penalty shirts, with Lunin and Vinicius being the heroes in that game there. And then you've got Bayern 4-3 over two legs. Hosselu the hero late in that game there. And it's just that magic. It's just that Real Madrid aura. You look at all of those knockout football games, they were just clutch moments. You're beating Leipzig 2-1 without the likes of Bellingham, no fit centre-halves. You're beating Man City, the best team in world football, because of the clutch-keeping moments. And Rodrigo coming up in the early half, the long line, Vinicius, and creating something out of nothing. You sat in defended for 90 minutes. Then you've got Bayern, second best on the night, arguably to Bayern Munich. But when it came down to it, Hosselu off the bench, someone who's been not the big star, not the big name that Real Madrid, pops up on the bench and scores a double to win the game for your side. This is what Real Madrid is all about. This is the Champions League aura they carry with. And to be honest, I've seen them as the best team all year in football. Haven't lost many games, lost one in the league. Have yet to lose now in the Champions League as well. They're just fantastic. They're hard to beat. Atletico Madrid, the only side that have actually beaten this season in football. They've just been unbeatable, fantastic, and too good. They're consistently a team that will take it to you in so many different avenues. They can win without much possession, like we saw in Man City and that second leg versus Bayern Munich. They can dominate games that we saw against Leipzig, and you see in the league more often than not, especially against Barcelona this season. They won with a lot more possession. They've got so many fans to win games of football, and they've got Don Carlo, for God's sake, a Champions League serial winner, managing the side as well. And you've got a player like Vinicius, who might become new Mr. Champions League with how clutch he is in knockout football. The side comes off back-to-back draws in the league, which is probably their worst run all season. But we know what they've done. We know the confidence. They've just been saving themselves up for this big night here at Wembley. Looking at the key players through this great Champions League run, starting with Andre Lunin, the third keeper that's become the number one keeper, and much talk about if he'll start in the final. Rumour has he's now ill, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually does get the start over Thibaut Courtois. But he's been huge. The 4.4 saves per game obviously was that heroic against Man City in the penalty shootout. 35 saves made in his 8 games, been fantastic for them in goal, with continual big save after big save. We've got Vinny, 9 appearances, 5 goals, 4 assists, averaging the 7.63 match rating. Just fantastic in knockout football. I think that first goal for Real Madrid against Bayern Munich was Vinicius jinking inside, taking that shot, that bounce in front of Neuer, caused the havoc. Hossley scores the goal. He was consistently the one running in behind versus Bayern Munich. Clearly the best player across the two legs. Such a dangerous player in knockout football with how he can just do things with the unexpected. He can dribble past defenders. He can run in behind defenders. He caused Kim all sorts of problems in that first leg there. He's just been that guy consistently for Real Madrid this season, the Champions League. I called for him, I think, in the first leg of the quarterfinal versus Man City to turn up. And ever since then, he's probably been the best player in the Champions League, consistently being dangerous, consistently being a threat on the opposition goal. And we know he loves to turn up in big games. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's another Vinicius masterclass here. Jude Bellingham, fantastic first season Real Madrid, especially in the Champions League. 10 appearances, 4 goals, 4 assists, averaging a 7.75 match rating in the Champions League. We know what he can do. Goals from midfield, carrying from midfield, playing in the false 9, playing at a more traditional number 10 spot. He's everywhere for Real Madrid. All the good things go through Jude Bellingham, and it's pretty easy when this guy's in the form of his life and potentially the Ballon d'Or winner. Other two players, like Toni Kroos, 11 appearances, the 7.37 average match rating, the 95% pass accuracy per game, 1.8 key passes per game, 5.1 ball recoveries per game. Normally sits in as the deepest. He dictates that midfield. He sees the game. We saw what he did against Bayern with those first-time passes, that well-way to pass in behind to Vinicius. Reads the moments, controls momentums of games, and dictates how the game will go. We'll like to see his experience in his final game for Real Madrid in that midfield from the start, and he's a player that could tear that game apart. And finally, Antonio Rudiger has been my favourite player in the Champions League this season, especially for his heroics versus Man City defensively. He's been great all season. He's got the 2 assists in the Champions League, the 3.5 ball recoveries per game, 2.7 clearances per game, and wins about just over 3 duels per game. So he's just a brick wall at the back, the leader, constantly been there this season. He's a bit of a character as well, but he does so well at the back there and has not made a mistake in the Champions League this season. And obviously that means no mistakes leading to goals as well. Looking at this game, I've touched on all their names already, but firstly, it's Vinicius. Again, a big-time player that missed the Champions League of this season. The knockout football is all been about Vinicius Jr. and his magic and his big moments. I wouldn't be surprised if he carries it over once again here into this game here. Playing as basically a striker, I'd imagine him with Rodrigo up top and Bellingham in behind them. You'd like to see that sort of formation there. And those three, the freedom to create whatever they want. But it feels like Vinicius is always in the end of these goals. Either Rodrigo crossing it into him or Vinicius making that run in behind or making that great direct run at defenders, dribbling past defenders, creating for the likes of Bellingham or his teammate Rodrigo. He's been fantastic all the knockout stages. I think he'll put in another fantastic performance yet again. And I feel like his pace and his direct running will be the difference maker because they've gone against Mbappe, but Vinicius is a different kettle of fish. And there's a reason why Don Carlo wants him as Ballon d'Or winner because he's just electric in his big games. He's unstoppable in his big games. There's not many ways you can stop Vinicius Jr. where he comes in from that wide left area, making that curved run in behind. There's not many people who can do it like Vinicius Jr. Second player, Jude Bellingham, his home Champions League final. We know the history with Ronaldo winning it in Lisbon, Bale in Cardiff. What about Bellingham at London and Wembley? I wouldn't be surprised if it happens yet again. This guy's been fantastic this season. Not that great in the last few Champions League games against Bayern. Went a bit missing across the two legs. But in a home final with this Real Madrid badge on, it screams a Bellingham type of game where he turns up, where he carries the ball, dominates in midfield areas, gets a goal for himself or gets a big assist. When the ball's at his feet, he's almost unstoppable to prevent him getting forward because of his size, his physicality. He knows that Dortmund side so well. And the likes of Emre Can, Marcel Sabitzer, Julian Brandt, they've got nothing on a Jude Bellingham. They can't stop a Jude Bellingham. And as good as Hummels and Schlotterbeck have been, when Jude Bellingham gets his head down, he gets his head running, or if he's charging to the box for a header or getting into the back sit with that real striker's instinct he's got, there's not many defenders or midfielders that can stop that. He's just an instinctual goal scorer. An instinctful winner. He loves to win and he finds ways to win by setting his teammates up or scoring himself. And he seriously just can't train what he's good at. So he'll be another massive player in this game here. And the farewell for Toni Kroos and potentially Luka Modric, these two in midfield are going to be huge. I always touch on them in these sort of previews because they're experienced. They've been here and done it. They've won the 5 Champions Leagues. They've seen all these different occasions. Kroos' last game for Real Madrid, he'll put up a masterclass. He'll dominate that midfield, especially against a German side in Borussia Dortmund as well. And then Luka Modric likely off the bench to come on for Toni Kroos. How he controls games. He's a wizard. He finds that pass Great from set pieces as well. Really, really good into finding pockets, turning in space, opening spaces up for those forwards. So the combination of those two, the smarts they have on the ball, the ability to see the game before anyone else does it. Cruz is both ways, his defending and his ability to go forward to transition Real Madrid. These guys are next level. I love them. I reckon they're some of the best midfielders of all time. And you know Cruz will go out in a high. If it's Modric's last game as well, you know he'll go out in a high for Real Madrid as well. So these guys will be pivotal in that midfield just to control the pace of the game. And by a long way, the most experienced players in that pitch there, so you know they'll read the moments and convert on them. With that being said, massive game. Huge players on both sides. Momentum came with Dortmund. The history and the quality with Real Madrid. Storylines with Marco Reus retiring, Toni Kroos retiring. Dortmund back at the place they lost that final 11 years ago. Madrid back in another final after a year away. It's going to be a classic at Wembley as well, as I said. What a place to have a final. My prediction, I've gone with Real Madrid, and Real Madrid quite convincingly in the end. I think they win this game 3-0. I think the big moments and the big players, they'll read those moments a bit better. And especially if they score early in that first half there, I can't see Borussia Dortmund having a way to throw enough numbers forward but be solid enough defensively to keep out the likes of Vinicius, the likes of Jude Bellingham, and the likes of Rodrigo. These guys are too talented that if Real Madrid find a way to score first, Borussia Dortmund can't play that deep line. They can't let Hummels and Schlotterbeck sit in deep and compact that back four with Emre Can in front of them. You can't do that. You have to go and push out and try and win the game. It's a final. You have to push forward. And then there's spaces. And that's where Vinicius and Bellingham and Kroos and Modric do their best work. Rodrigo can find pockets to run into. And it just gets too much. And I think because Real Madrid players have been there and done it, they're just constantly winning trophies. They're addicted to winning. They'll know how to manage this game. Don Carlos, the manager as well. Ancelotti is a winner. He does not lose. He's won trophies all over the globe in all the top 5 European leagues. You know he'll know how to manage that game much better. I think it'd be stupid not to predict Real Madrid. For a neutral, we'd love to see Marco Reus go on a trophy, but I just think Borussia just don't have enough. They don't have enough quality. They don't have enough players. I've said that a lot of times so far in this run-in, but you never know. You just never quite know. I've gone Real Madrid 3-0, but in a Champions League final, that's why we love the competition. And in a final, anything can happen. It's all up in the air. But I think the quality, I think the players, I think the manager, it's all pointing in a Real Madrid comfortable win. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. How do you think this game will pan out? I cannot wait. The final game of the club season before we go for the Euros. And what an occasion as well. Wembley with Real and with Dortmund and all the stories. It's just fantastic. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you enjoy this prediction video, please smash a like on it. Subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more videos like these and press that post notification bell so you know when we upload our podcasts and our videos as we come towards Euros action. Now, a quick message to you guys. I appreciate all the support on these Champions League prediction videos, on the Premier League prediction videos. You guys have been amazing this season. I appreciate the love and support. I know it's been the first season. It's flown by. But I've enjoyed it and I've loved going the journey and loved you guys joining along with me for it as well. Hope this analysis was enough. You guys have probably rambled for way too long, but if you stayed here, I appreciate you sticking around. I appreciate you supporting the channel and watching these videos. It does not go unnoticed. With that all being said, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoy the cup final. Have a great rest of your day and I'll see you guys in the video or podcast very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.